Welcome in, everybody. Fun fact, there are no seagulls in Hawaii. Let's start the show.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Raise Rewind with Buschman and Drew.
Jansen. That is into center field. Here comes Kiermaier. Phillips has tied the game. Arose Arena coming around. Throw home. Now he stumbles. But the ball gets away. Tampa Bay wins it. Brett Phillips, game 4 hero.
The sickest Tampa Bay Rays podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Welcome in, everybody. It is another episode of the Rays Rewind podcast, the sickest Tampa Bay Rays podcast on the Sick Media Network. I am one of your hosts, the great Buschman, and of course, joining me as usual is Drew. Welcome in, everybody. We've got a great show tonight. The Rays split the series against the Yanks. Of course, we're definitely going to talk about the stadium now. And make sure to go to our YouTube page at the Sick Podcast, Rays Rewind. Hit the subscribe and notification bell. And this video is sponsored by Homage. Yes, if you guys remember us wearing some awesome sweatshirts and T-shirts the other day, which I think Drew is modeling with us right now, you can go to Homage to that link, which will be in this video after it's recorded. You guys can go to the link and check out the type of swag you can purchase off the website. So remember, go to Homage, click the link, buy some stuff. Boom. So what's up, man? Drew, it's been a while.
I know, man. It's been
a lot has happened. A lot has happened.
I am as fired up, which is weird considering the Rays are still 500.
Yes, we were briefly over 500 for one game for one day. And then
we are in baseball purgatory, perpetually hovering around 500 for the rest of our lives. But I'm fired up to talk about the Rays, and actually as fired up as I've been in a long time. I don't know why.
You're not drinking tonight, right?
I'm not drinking.
Okay.
No, nothing for me. I think I was going into today, the last game of the Yankees series. I was so pleasantly surprised that they would put themselves in a position to win 3 or 4 that I, obviously was hoping for a 3 or 4 series win, but kind of felt like today's game was almost like house money, playing with house money kind of thing. So, even though it was a kind of a clunker of a game, I did not down my spirits all that much.
Do you ever listen to the after show for DAE?
No, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, so because
I'll listen to.
Yeah, after the broadcast, they do Rays Radio, like the after show where they take calls about the game and stuff. And
the post game. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. When you said after show, I was thinking it was like
after show post game
special like thing that the radio show hosts do. Something like that, like T-Kraz or somebody like that. So
for some reason, like 2 days in a row, every time I've tuned in, it's been the same boisterous Italian guy. I think his name is
Vincent from
Vincent
Myrtle Beach.
Vincent from Myrtle Beach. And the dude is hilarious when the guy's talking. He's just boisterous, loud. At first, I thought he was a Yankees fan. But turns out he's a Rays fan, and he's just got these takes about why don't they have the guys that play the positions? Why don't they play in today? What is going on? And I'm entertained. So I don't know if you ever listened to that at all, but it's pretty.
Yeah, no. Ironically, because I definitely listen to the post game show. It's usually when I'm either really excited or really pissed about the team. And I ironically did listen yesterday. We were driving, my family and I were driving home from Atlanta, and we had the Rays game on the car radio, whatever. We were listening through the MLB app, and caught the post game show after the fact. So yes, I am familiar with Vincent. He's usually like the first caller.
Yeah,
I think he just calls in like as soon as the show starts.
Chris, what are they doing? What are they doing? It's hilarious.
Yeah. Have you ever called in on that show?
I tried a couple times, but I haven't gotten through.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I've tried.
It's always a good time. I've talked a couple times, but Vincent's usually the star.
What What do you mean? All right, so what do you want to get into first? Do you want to talk about the Yanks series, or do you want to talk a little bit about the stadium? Because we're about another week away from the actual final vote.
Let's talk Yanks.
Okay.
That's on my mind.
Okay.
The stadium, obviously, that's the better news, I feel like. So
okay. Yanks split the series 2-2 with the Yankees. First game, they should have won that game. That if they could have taken the series 3-1 over this past weekend. A lot of home runs from the Rays, which hasn't been a thing this whole year. So glad to see Randy hitting a few out of the park. With a series, even Alex Jackson getting in on the fun.
Get a Yankee Stadium homer.
I know. So that was the type of offense we've been longing to see all weekend. But the two games they dropped, today's game losing 9-1, very frustrating. But the one on Friday, to me, that was a winnable game. But of course, it's the Rays, man. They just find ways to shoot themselves in the foot, and now we're back at 500 again. And now you have the looming questions of, what are they going to do at the deadline? But we've got a series coming up against the Blue Jays, which is winnable because they are in the cellar right now, and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do. What are your thoughts on the Yankee series? What did you like? What did you not like?
Didn't like the strike zone in game one. Thought Eflin got squeezed on. I mean, I know Garrett Cole was complaining as well. So
he complains all the time.
He complains. He looks like the most miserable.
Him and Boone should have a podcast together as the two most miserable people in New York because they both are miserable.
He looks like the most miserable millionaire I've ever seen in my life. So I know there was kind of both sides. There were some pitches I thought, the Yankees got squeezed on. And so I thought the strike zone was pretty terrible. When it came back to bite Eflin, I thought he had a couple strikeouts there in that one inning where it blew up on him. That didn't get called. And then, it just got away. Yeah, sloppy play. I hated the throw from Randy. They made it seem like, he overthrew his cutoff man, and that's why it wasn't the overthrow. It was the toss. The toss into the infield, and that was him, I think, showing some frustration, and obviously
that was the thing with him over this past weekend. It was a little bit of lackadaisical playing from him.
I know he had another error yesterday. I did not see it for myself, so I don't know what that looked like, but and I never went back to look at the highlight or the low light. But yeah, I mean, game one, Garrett Cole seemed to have been getting his sea legs underneath him before the All-Star break. And then, so I wasn't shocked that he came out pretty sharp. I mean, he's always tough, especially at Yankee Stadium. I didn't expect us to win that game. So it was more of the way we lost. It was really frustrating with the errors. I mean, I think three errors
and leaving runners on base again too.
Yeah, leaving runners on base, the same old story. And it was disappointing. Again, I feel like there's been other times this year where it's like, all right, this team is finally hitting the right, they're finally hitting their stride, all this stuff, and they just come out and just it's a clunker. They look, lost. They're making silly mistakes, and so I know the break can always be a little sketchy. 4 days off, you don't know how you're going to come back from that. But the momentum they had built up previously, I was hoping that coming into Yankee Stadium, it was going to be from the get-go. Kind of what we have been seeing over the last month. So for them to kind of revert back to April baseball was disappointing. But again, and especially I will say going into the series, I wanted at least 2 wins. I thought a split, I would be happy with a split, and still am very happy with a split. So for them to come back game 2 and 3 against, honestly, the Yankees, I mean, Cortez at home has always been really tough. This year, especially, he's really been very, very good at Yankee Stadium. I think a sub-2 ERA at home. And then Marcus Stroman always pitches the Rays really tough. So I was not optimistic going into those 2 games. So for them to come out and hit the ball the way they did with the home run, I love that.
Yeah, but you also had really good performances by Taj yet again.
Yes.
And when you have a fantastic performance by him, and then you have the offense to back him up, that's the total package that you want to see out of them consistently. And then even on the the Sunday game too with Shane Boz. I mean, Shane I think he got in a little bit of trouble, but
Yeah,
that mustache, by the way, his mustache is just
awful.
awful. It,
He needs to. He needs
he needs
to.
to get that out of the way,
He
man.
needs to get rid of it.
Yeah,
Hopefully, and I don't know if that goes back to what the Rays pitchers did earlier in the season. Maybe he's just trying to like
don't do it, dude.
be a part of that. Yeah, no, it's just the
Don't.
wrong
It looks so
wrong
weird.
color. Yeah, it's not the face for it. But yeah, you hit like Taj. I mean, I know they hit a lot of home runs this weekend. Randy played really well offensively. Jose Siri had a couple big hits, and obviously we can kind of talk about some of the stuff that happened there. But Taj for me is the biggest takeaway. Dude's
What
legit, man. He
what
is
what
so
a
good.
what a
He is so good. And not that we didn't know he was
See,
good,
I had my doubts though. I had my
but
doubts because when he first came over in the
right.
trade, and then when we brought him up the first couple of times where he was just kind of shaky, the control wasn't there. I had my doubts he might be a bust. And then coming into this season, he's just been nothing short of spectacular. Like he's just been the command's there,
Mm-hmm.
like all of his pitches are there, and he just seems unshakable. And
Mm-hmm.
his performances have been nothing. They've been dominant, and that's what you want out of especially a young pitcher like him is dominant stuff.
Right.
And when you have a guy like that can throw dominant stuff, you want your other pitchers to follow suit. And if he keeps pitching the way he's pitching, man, he could be up in the level of like Paul Skeens is. Just the way he is, just the way he's pitching.
Yeah. I mean, I was telling my family Saturday, but going into the game, because I had heard the Paul Skeens stat, going, I think it was since June 8th. He's the only pitcher that's got a lower ERA than Paul Skeens. And of course, Paul Skeens gets all this pub, which deservedly so. I mean, he is nasty.
And you know what, Drew? I don't. The thing that kind of maybe irks me a little bit is Bradley isn't. There is no like whispers, or he's not even in like that conversation of, hey, we could maybe put him in the Cy Young conversation,
right?
I
mean, I listen. I think would I say Taj Bradley is as good of a pitcher as Paul Skeens? I would probably. Listen. I wasn't a pitcher, but from what I can see and what I've read, Paul Skeens has 4 pitches that can strike out guys with, and all the speed, all the movement. He can throw them all for strikes, and he's got a pitch repertoire that has been unlike anything we've seen in a long time. Yeah.
Splinker.
So do I think Taj Bradley is as good as Paul Skeens is? I would not say at this point. No, he is not. However, he is pitched as good, if not better, results wise. And he's a young pitcher that has obviously shown a huge jump from, when he got called up last year, it was obviously in a situation where it was too soon. The Rays never would have called him up as soon as they did. They had to out of necessity. So for him to, take that experience, which is largely up and down, and then come back this year and just be so good, especially, I mean, I think even if you go back before the Baltimore game, that it's used kind of as the marker of he's been so dominant since that game in Baltimore. He had another, I think, start or two before that was, arguably the same was what we've seen recently. So he's been doing this now for, a month and a half, almost 2 months, and it's legit. I mean, and I said to my family before the game, I said, he's not getting any recognition for how well he's pitched. I mean, I've been listening on the national stuff, trying to hoping that, his name gets brought up. Not the case.
Doesn't.
And so this is a start, though, like for better or for worse, going into Yankee Stadium against the Yankees, I really was hoping for him to pitch well, because I knew if he did, it would definitely put him more on the radar, that I think he deserves to be getting that kind of recognition. So yeah, he got off to that, leadoff double, and there was I think, a couple guys on base in the first inning thinking this might not, it's always tough going to Yankee Stadium first time. For whatever reason, it's hard for pitchers at times, and it's a tough stadium to pitch in. So for him to be as good as he was even more than I expected. Even if I would have said, hey, what's a good game for him look like? it would beyond my expectations. So at this point, I mean, I think there's a legitimate conversation to be had about assuming health, Taj Bradley and Shane McClanahan being
One, two,
one,
one and
two,
two. Yeah.
and then filling it out from there. Because he's 23, and I mean, it's just the demeanor
Yeah.
is pro level. His fastball, I think they said his splitter's what's really been the biggest difference between last year and this year. Conviction to throw, like it's just been awesome to watch. So I hope he continues this run, because eventually, if he does, he's gonna force the issue and get his name mentioned. I don't think that he has rookie status anymore, unfortunately. So I don't
I
think
don't
he
think
would be
so since he's
considered
been
for
called.
AL rookie.
He's been called up a few times. I don't think he does.
Yeah, so which is unfortunate because AL rookie of the year is just like
Wide open right now.
it's just like
Yeah.
no one has really stepped up. So, but yeah, he's definitely for me the biggest takeaway. For him to go into Yankee Stadium and shut them down, especially after a tough loss the night before, like
Mhm.
I don't know, it was just it got me real excited about not only the rest of his season, but
2025.
2025, even more now for thinking like Shane McClain, thinking of the guys that are going to be in that rotation most likely, and
Well,
just how much it strengthens them.
with
So
a couple of success games over the weekend, we do have a couple of injuries and some weirdness with Yandy Diaz. Yandy Diaz is on the restricted list because of a family matter. Topper Mark Tompkin updated today saying it's still an ongoing issue. We don't know what the timetable is of him coming back. And then Ryan Pepio is out with a knee infection. He did fly back with the team today, so that's going to be evaluated as well. So we take 2 steps forward and then 5 steps back with our players being at full strength. The Yandy thing is a little concerning. I do think it's probably either a death in the family or hopefully nothing. I don't know, man. That's really kind of a head scratcher. Obviously, we don't know the specifics of it. When you put somebody on the restricted list, when they say it's a family issue or family matter, then it is something serious. So, thoughts and prayers go out to Yandy. Hopefully, we'll see him back soon. And whatever's going on, hopefully it gets cleared up. And then with Ryan Pepio and the knee infection, that's a little concerning to me when it comes to a knee and then an infection. That's not a good thing to hear, especially in the same sentence together, especially for one of our pitchers too.
I had to do a double take when I saw that come up
Knee
yesterday.
infection.
Yeah, I was like, wait, an infection in your knee.
Yeah.
It did. The Topkin wrote today. I guess he is headed home,
Yep.
which is good, and I guess he's up and moving, and they think he's going to be just fine and quick recovery.
I wonder what the infection was.
I don't
Unless
know.
the only infection I can think of is like a staph infection on the
I feel
knee.
like they would have just said that though. I don't know.
They like to keep things vague. You know how
Yeah,
it is.
that's true.
So,
The Yandi thing was a little, yeah, that was, you see he's away for personal reasons, family matter. Okay, that's unfortunate, especially before a big series.
well,
And
and then
obviously
you
you don't know
see
what's going on.
restricted list, and then everybody loses their mind.
PTSD.
Yeah, everybody
I'm
loses
like,
their mind.
oh
Like, oh my god, what's
God,
going
like
on? Well, why
that's
again? Again.
and that's where my mind went. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like
Mhm.
teams, you know, never expect to have one guy on a restricted list in
But
a
now
year,
too.
but now two. But yeah, it really, because of the Wander situation, my mind went to dark places about like, oh my gosh, like another guy on a restricted list and it's Yandy. This season's over. Like I was like, there's something bad happening. But apparently it's kind of like the only reason it makes me nervous is because of he's not getting paid and he's
Mhm.
not getting service time. Like that seems punitive. However, and because there is a bereavement list, but you would think you'd go on that, but I know I heard this the other day, and it reminded me in 2018, Jose Alvarado was put on the restricted list for like a month. He was on the bereavement list for or he was on family emergency list for like a few days, and then moved to restricted list and was gone for the team for like a month.
Yeah, I
And
remember
that's
that.
because of his mother surgeries, health wasn't good, was there taking care of her. And so, you hope it's not something, I don't know. Obviously, it's not great. It's not a good thing for him to be gone. You have no idea what it is, but there are other reasons out there for him to be on the restricted list. I don't necessarily mean Yandy's a bad guy. He's done something terrible, which is
Hopefully not.
which is where my mind went. And then I was thinking in the moment, I'm like, oh my gosh, like he seemed like the nicest guy. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just this whole Wander situation and the restricted list has given me PTSD. So, but there's like no timetable. I mean, I have no idea, which
Yeah,
sucks. I mean,
Tompkin hasn't
need
given
him.
any kind of inkling of when he's going to be back. There hasn't been any kind of there hasn't been any kind of like formal thing on why he's on the restricted list, which is it's kind of concerning to me because obviously we're not listen
Yeah.
as fans we want to know, but
Mhm.
it's we're on a need to know basis, but we want to know and we want to know why he's on the restricted list. So hopefully it's nothing too serious, but obviously it is.
What'd you think of the home run stuff with Randy and Jose and today with like
I know Soto did
and,
it too as
and
well.
well
Soto was kind
and
of like
Volpe did it too. I don't that Volpe's not getting as much pub for it, but Volpe did it too.
listen,
His
look,
first
it is what it is, and my light goes off in the middle of me talking. It's baseball,
yeah.
and you know these two teams have a history together of just going kind of back and forth with things. And when one team is acting a fool, I mean, the other team's going to respond. And look, it's baseball, man. If you want to celebrate like that, they're going to celebrate like that. It's a part of the game, and I know the Rays are more colorful when it comes to their celebrations and whatnot. So I mean, I know we're gonna hear a lot from other people going, "Oh, I think this just shouldn't be allowed in the game." Maybe Vincent from Myrtle Beach will probably say that too. But look, it is what it is. Do I think they should have celebrated like that today after getting a 9-1 loss? No, I don't think that should have happened. But it is what it is.
Yeah. I don't get it. Maybe if it was flipped and
If it was flipped in the other direction where the Yankees are doing it, I would be like, I hate those guys. They're punks. They're douchebags. But like it's on our side, and it's just like, look, we've been doing it because that's just the way Siri is. I mean, that he hits a home run, he likes to be colorful.
yeah, and I guess it's partly because I watch this team every day, and so
We're used to it.
used to it. Like that's just how he is. He does that in every aspect of the game. He's kind of crazy, and it's great when you're winning, and it's not when you're not. It's
Right. Is it
infuriating.
showboating? Yes. I mean,
Yeah,
even going back to that play with Wander flipping the ball. Remember that
yeah.
play?
Oh man, that was awesome. I
I mean,
couldn't.
he was
We were
he was
on. We were recording when that happened, I
yeah,
believe.
and he was murdered in the press about that. But like, look, it's
Oh, I loved it.
part of the game, man. Like
I loved it.
I remember doing that playing Little League. It's
I,
a part of the game.
when that happened, I was like, oh my gosh, the Rays actually have like a super cool player on their team. Like people are gonna look at Wander, and
Little
think
did we know.
this guy is awesome. He just did this, like making headlines, like the Rays were national topic. I was like, man, this is great. So
now they're a national topic for something completely
but
different.
I think for me, and I realize I have so because I have MLB TV, and I'm borderline obsessed slash insane when it comes to the Rays and just like especially when it's like big rivalry games and the Rays are playing well. I love reveling in the
I do, especially when it's the
I
Yankees.
I love reveling in the misery of the rival fans.
Mhm.
So I will actively look for Yankees material to see how ticked the fans are and all the things they're saying and like their reactions to stuff. And so on
Are you
MLB,
talking about like kind of the dummies saying on X and Twitter saying Jason Adam and Pete Fairbanks should be traded to the Yankees and that would be a good fit? Like,
that's so stupid. Yeah, they're
that would no way have the Rays are not stupid. They're not going to trade interdivision, especially to the Yankees, and give away two of their best assets in the bullpen. Like
they would never trade, but we listen.
Especially
the listeners know how we feel about the Rays trading Jason Adam and Pete Fairbanks. I still think that is. I'm still saying that's not going to happen.
It'd be beyond stupid.
Yeah, but to trade both of them away, you'd have to get a huge
Yankees?
return, and then for
Yeah.
the Yankees to do it, it would be like, all right, give us Jason Dominguez.
Yeah.
That would be a great start, which they're not going to do. So it doesn't matter. But No, so I listened to the Yes broadcast. I'll go on the because you can listen to the broadcast. So I'm like, I actually kind of like Michael K. I know I'm probably in the minority. Like, I think he calls it like he sees it most of the time with the Yankees. He's not a homer too much. That's just my opinion. But so I was looking at the highlights, and they just blast. They hate Randy Arozarena. And what boggles my mind is that it's like, and I've seen this with other broadcasts too, not just Yankees, him stopping at third and doing the pose.
Jose.
It's as if they've completely forgotten that like that was his thing at the World Baseball Classic last year, and that became his pose. And like
Oh yeah, but
he
if
he
he does it
literally,
against them,
yeah,
it's
he
bad
literally does it like it was
everywhere.
like the thing he did every time. It was all over the place. He does it every time, and so
Did when
it
they
just it
remember
just
when he
makes
wore
me
the
laugh.
sombrero in the World Baseball Classic when he crossed his arm wearing the sombrero, doing the arm scrum.
Yeah, it just makes me laugh when they look at it like, oh, there he goes, taking his time, going to third and stopping at the base and doing this pose, and all this stuff. And it's as if it's like he's doing it specifically to be a
Yankees.
jerk to the other team and the fans. And it's like, no, like there's just they have no grasp of the context of why he does it. And then Jose Siri, and also Randy showboating is not nearly the same as Jose Siri showboating, because Randy is not an emotional. He's not an emotional look at me guy like Jose Siri can be with the hands up, the waving of the noise, like I can't hear you, like doing all the gestures and stuff. Randy, just his emotion never changes. He's just kind of doing what he does, and for
He's
some reason
more
that,
he's more arms than he is.
yeah, more from like,
Series is all facial expression.
yeah.
Randy's just all arms.
Yeah, Randy's got the same facial expression the entire time he's running the bases and doing whatever he's doing. So Jose, he's an easier target and he's the worst player. So it's easier for people to get on board or on his back about it. But, I was listening to some of the highlights yesterday, and, Yankees broadcast, they're just slamming the Rays for, you
Good,
know, trotting the around the
good,
bases as slow as they were, for celebrating the dugout like they were. And then again today with Jose's home run, and, definitely
good. The
playing it
Yankees
up.
haven't been playing
And
good baseball.
yeah,
That's why they can
and they
play.
were like, they're celebrating. It's like Michael K was quoted, he was saying it's like it's Mardi Gras in there and they're losing. It's like, well, yeah, but you also were giving them crap when they were winning. So clearly you just, when there's not a time to celebrate according to the Yankees
That's why
broadcast.
when they complain, it
Yeah.
just brings me joy.
Yeah, I love it. I love
You
it.
know what
But
brings me you know what brings me joy, Drew?
what?
We might have a stadium.
I know.
But there's still some optimism in me that's saying I don't know if it's gonna get done.
It's not official.
No, not until the 30th when they
I,
actually have the final vote.
I live streamed that council meeting.
I watched it a little bit.
It was brutal.
Some of the comments. The one my favorite one was the octopus wearing the hat. That guy was pretty funny. A lot of division when it comes to having the stadium being built where it's going to be at. The final approval vote is on the 30th, so we'll be right there to see if it's going to happen or not. From what I've heard, the biggest hurdle was this actual vote, this past one, the 5-3
Yes.
that just got passed. That was the biggest one to do. And look, the Rays have gotten this far, and I was on the JP Peterson show, I think last week, I think a couple days after the approval happened. And my thoughts were, in the back of my mind, I'm still, until you get some shovels in the ground and I can walk through the front door of the stadium, I still don't really have this feeling of joy like, hey, a stadium's going to be finally built. I mean, I really don't, because we've heard this stuff for the past 15 years, and now I think we're further along than we've ever been, but it still, to me, is until it's done, I'm not going to like cheer to the rafters, hey, we've got a new stadium. Look, if it happens, I'm grateful because that means they're going to stay here. Will Stu probably sell the team? Most likely he will. That way he'll make a profit. He did kind of dodge a question like that during the press conference when somebody asked him, are you going to be around when the stadium gets built? And he did dodge the question. Oh, I don't know how things go in the baseball world. Our team is 500 right now. Nobody thought that would happen, which was kind of like a dig. Like, dude, come on, man. You need to be a little bit more a little positive about your team that you own. But what are your thoughts on the stadium? I know we don't really talk stadium that much on this show because I think we outlawed it for a little bit because it's just been kind of like back and forth and
Yeah,
a broken
it's
record. So now that we're in a place where it's further along and it's going to be approved, what are your thoughts on
yeah.
this?
I've always felt like if the less you've talk about the stadium, that means you're more of a Rays fan because
Yeah.
clearly that means you've been in those discussions enough that that most people won't understand the situation or will just generalize and
Mhm.
say dumb things about it. So yeah, we haven't talked about it much.
We haven't. I think we
That's
outlawed it in
because that's
the
yeah, that's
first couple
because you
shows
and
we
I
had.
are that's because you and I are we're in it. We are in the thick of it. Yeah, I mean, I was excited. I'm not in the Tampa Bay area anymore. And so I've kind of been dealing with like I don't know, these like big questions like in the back of my mind. I always felt like the Rays would get a stadium because
Mm.
you go where the money's at. It's much more profitable for the owners, for baseball in general, to have the Rays stay in Tampa, especially with the Athletics moving out of California, going to Vegas because of relocation fees. They want to obviously get into new markets and to have to use the new markets for existing teams instead of a new team because then, they're missing out. If they're not using it for a new team, they're missing out on all of the additional money that these, new owners have to pay for,
Yep.
an expansion team in. So I mean, you're talking about them losing out on a lot of money having to use another new market for an existing team. So I always felt like when push came to shove, the Rays would get a stadium done, even if it was in St. Pete. I didn't really care because I just wanted them to stay in the area because even though I'm not in the Tampa area anymore.
See, I cared at first because I didn't want it to stay in St. Pete because
Yeah,
you move it over to a bigger metropolitan area like Tampa is, and then you have more opportunities when it
right.
comes to corporate sponsorships and then ad revenue and TV deals and whatnot because you're in a bigger market and you're around two other big Tampa Bay franchises, the Lightning, and then you also
Mhm,
have the Buccaneers. So having a like trifecta of three sports teams in the same vicinity, maybe separated by a couple of miles,
mhm,
then you have a real sports town. Now, throughout the years that we've heard this back and forth about what they're going to do and the stupid sister city plan and all that stuff. It's like, okay, as long as you get it done, just get it done. And
mhm.
if it's in Tampa, great. I'll drive an extra 30 minutes over the bridge or take I-75 over to get there. Or if you keep it in St. Pete, that's fine too. It's the same route for me going over the Skyway into St. Pete. And it's fine. It's fine if you keep it in St. Pete. St. Pete's growing. It's more now being for young families and young entrepreneurs and young business professionals. So it's a city that's being built up to be kind of like in that modern young professional area where you're going to have more businesses coming in there. Do I think they maybe should have picked another site besides just moving it like a couple feet over from the actual trop? Yeah, a little bit, but
Right.
it is what it is. Hopefully, it gets finally approved on the 30th, and then we can all just say, okay, now put some shovels in the ground and let's start digging because now you have a stadium.
Yep.
I think it'll be good for the newer generations. I said this before. It's like attendance has gone up every single the past couple of years. Attendance has gone up. We've seen this. We've
Mhm.
seen that the newer generation of fans being brought to the Trop are coming. So by the time the stadium gets built, it's you'll hopefully have a packed house with a brand new shiny stadium, which the renderings look fantastic, and you have a stadium that's going to be open year round. But in the back of my mind is you've got now 4 years to get it done. So hopefully they can get it done if it gets approved faster than they got the I-4 corridor done for I-4, leading up to Disney. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm just
I
like I told you before, I'm more I still in the back of my mind have this thought of it's not going to get done.
something's gonna go wrong.
Something's gonna screw it up, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, no question. Like, I think any sensible Rays fan would say Tampa is the best place for the
Yeah.
team,
Oh, yeah.
and that's obviously the number one option. However, knowing that was just not going to happen, I just wanted the team to stay.
Yeah.
I didn't want them, even though I don't live in the area. Like That is obviously what that Tampa Bay. I grew up in Tampa Bay. My whole life was in Tampa Bay until last summer, and so I
I think
mean,
a
I
lot of
I
people
want the
just said that.
team
I think
there.
too, Drew. I think that too. Exactly. I think it's just a lot of people are like, we just want them to stay.
Yeah,
If Stu sells the team, fine. Let him sell it to somebody that lives in Florida and
yeah,
will nurture this team and pump money into the team. We just want them to stay at this point,
yep.
you know.
So
Um,
as long as that happens, I honestly I couldn't care less where the stadium is. I personally think, and maybe this is naive. I mean, St. Pete I know has changed a lot. I just in the years I've been going to games, seeing the change for myself. A handful of times a year. I just feel like in 10 years, the St. Pete we know now could look a lot different for the
yeah,
better. So it really might not matter at that point.
it could be the new Tampa.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know what I mean?
it's I'm not sweating it too much. I do know it's gonna be a nightmare to go to a game there for a long time because, um, the construction, it's just gonna be a mess, but,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, it's the city council from what I understand it, the city council vote was the more problematic because they were just voting on so much
Yep.
with the deal that there was some just big opposition early on from a couple of the city council members. So, up to my what I've read and to my knowledge, the county vote is much more simple. It's just like tour like
It
funding.
shouldn't take as long as
Yeah,
another. Yeah.
it's much a much easier idea to get support for. So I don't think they're anticipating any issues. I will definitely be watching it very closely and live if I can, because I mean this has been a topic of discussion as long as I've been a Rays fan, since 2007, 2008. Um, so to have it almost, I know it's not official, but to almost feel like you have it in the background, like it's in the rear view, and now it's not something that we have to talk about anymore. It's a little weird to be in that place. It's surreal.
Well, yeah, because
But
after the vote, the conversation that comes up every single year about the stadium, there won't be any conversation anymore because
yeah,
or that conversation of, "Hey, are the Rays gonna be here after 2027?" It's like, well, that we don't have to talk about that anymore
yeah,
because
and
the stadium's gonna get built.
I would like to think that with the county vote, if it going well, that man, that just kind of fires up the fans, like because I feel like a lot of people in the back of their minds, like, well, we don't know if the team's going to be here, so
Now the team's gonna be here, apparently.
now it's like it's
I
full throttle. Like there's just and then hopefully the expectation, the new stadium and the revenues they're going to get, going into a new stadium, we can start thinking, payroll wise, maybe taking a chance here and there on bringing some guys in from the outside with
mhm.
some bigger contracts. I don't know. Maybe that means by the time Shane McClanahan's up for free agency,
We can actually
or
sign
getting
him.
close, like we could actually keep him. I don't know. I don't know what that means. I don't know what it looks like. Now, if we go to a new stadium and they get all these revenues, and we're still because I believe the Rays are the last in Major League Baseball as far as percentage of revenue spent on payroll. So if that doesn't change, then I feel like you're going to have some problems. Now, then you mentioned Stu being coy about maybe selling, and I know
See,
that's
that's
kind of
the
been a talking
conversation
point.
now that's
It's
gonna be
like,
popping up every single year is Stu gonna sell the team? That's the
yeah,
new conversation. After this gets approved, okay, because now he can still go on and sell the team, but, like,
right.
the stadium's still gonna get built. That's the new conversation everybody's gonna have each and every year is, "Okay, is Stu gonna listen to offers like everybody is taking offers now for the race players? Is he gonna listen to people calling him up and asking him to buy the team? Because, I mean, the team's worth, I think, a couple like $1.5 billion now.
Yeah, he's going to make a
So,
ton of
he's
money.
gonna make a ton of money, and he
So,
can just go sell the team, go back to up to New York and do what he does best is, not care about the team. So,
um,
I'm just kidding.
yeah,
Yep.
well, I
Stu,
mean,
I love you. No, yeah, I'm just kidding. You know I
I,
love
uh, I was really excited to see it pass though. And I just hope that it gets done for the sake of Rays fans
you. Mhm.
everywhere. And I mean, I've been saying for years, I'll be there opening day 2028.
I
Um,
might even buy some season tickets if it gets opened up.
I know
I'll buy some season tickets.
what I'll have to do is I told my wife, I was like, maybe I'd do like one of those shorter packages. It's not a ton of games, and then just find like a homestand to just come down and
Like a weekend series.
yeah, or like come down for a week and a half, and try and go to like a handful of games, and then out of 10 days go to like 5 or 6 games. But yeah, opening day 2028, I'll be there at Publix Field. Can't wait. Get a pub sub.
Is it gonna be Publix Field? Is that what it's gonna be called?
No, I don't know.
I thought Cigar City Stadium would be nice.
Oh, there you go. I don't know. Colleen,
everybody's saying Publix Park.
Publix Park, yeah. Colleen Wright, the Tampa Bay Times reporter, who's been kind of the boots on the ground, yeah. She's getting some very just notoriety and coverage of the situation. She was on the AJ Przinsky show, Fair Territory or Foul Territory, and they had like a 20-minute convo with her about the stadium deal. And she had mentioned, because they brought up the St. Petersburg Rays, and they brought up that idea or that question. She obviously shot that down because that's not happening. But I guess there's something in the deal that says the naming rights of the stadium has to be something that
is in St. Pete.
Is in St. Pete, or has like ties to St. Pete. So like,
well, Publix is in St. Pete,
right? And Orlando Health is a new sponsor of the Rays. But it can't be Orlando Health Stadium or something like that. It's going to be something like, it's contractually not able to be anything outside of whatever is in St. Pete. So there will be a connection there. Publix, some of the bigger companies, I guess. I don't know how that would work. You can't have Tropicana, unfortunately. No. I feel bad for Tropicana. I mean, they've been such loyal sponsors for all these years. But yeah, I don't know. I think Publix, it just makes too much sense.
Publix Park. Yeah. And then put it like a nice little
pub substation.
Pub substation,
oh, man. Pub subs, I mean, you could do a lot. It's super easy to do that. So I would that's my vote.
Well, we want to get some ideas from you guys too, but put in the comments after the show what do you think the stadium should be built. I think Cigar City Stadium, but like Publix Park it rolls off the tongue too.
Hey, real quick before we sign off, because I know we're wrapping up, I did just read the Rays are bringing Rasmussen back as a multi-inning reliever.
I like that.
Early on, which I know that people had kind of floated that out there as like, oh, his injury history, like he might not be a starter anymore. I had not read any. Yeah, you had mentioned that. I had not read anything official that's what they were going to do. And I don't know if that's necessarily what they're going to do long term, but I did read just today that the Rays are going in an effort to get him up sooner. So they want him up with the team sooner than later. So they're planning on, it said early August, which is
right around the corner.
I mean, that's like the end of next week is August. So, I mean, if that means, Jeffrey Springs, Andrew Rasmussen are up by the, beginning of August, early August, that's a huge one. Even if Rasmussen's in the bullpen, it's
definitely trade bait too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. So that's exciting to see. And Springs way back before we know it.
All right. Well, thanks guys for joining us in for the Rays Rewind podcast, a new episode by myself and Drew. You can catch us on the Sick Podcast Network and on our YouTube page at the Sick Podcast Rays Rewind. We'll see you guys next time on the show.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Rays Rewind with Buschman and Drew on YouTube, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.